Caligula was an ancient Roman emperor who lived only 29 years. A short life, but what a life. He was a lustful, depraved pervert who loved power and torture, monstrous in its cruelty. We present you interesting historical facts about this man's unflattering traits. His real name was Gaius Caesar, and Caligula was his nickname in childhood. The boy was very fond of wearing children's boots, which were an exact copy of the soldier's boots, Caligula's, hence the nickname, meaning boot. Perhaps the early loss of his parents formed the boy's bad character. Gaius Caesar was brought up then by his grandmother and other relatives, who not only did not like him, but also made every effort to make him grow into a promiscuous monster. He knew how to hide his feelings and emotions. He was modest and untrustworthy. But two things he did not try to hide were cruelty and voluptuousness. Since childhood, Caligula loved to watch cruel duels and torture, getting wild pleasure and excitement from seeing other people suffering. Also, Gaius Caesar, as a boy, put on a wig and a long dress and went to the pub to indulge in fun and debauchery. He had sexual relations with women and men who might be of use to him in the future, thus inculcating in him a passion for violent sex and violence. He was allowed everything, so that the young lecher went so far as to have sexual relations with all his own sisters, and from time to time he shared them with his lovers. As a very young man, Caligula married Junia Claudia, the daughter of a noble Roman. The marriage was not happy because Gaius Caesar did not abandon his vicious habits and constantly cheated on his wife. When Junia died in childbirth, he did not even grieve. He also wanted powers limitless and all-powerful, and when he got it, all his vicious tendencies blossomed wildly. Caligula spared no one, regardless of merit or class. For example, one day the meat that was fed to wild carnivores for spectacle became more expensive, so the emperor ordered the criminals he personally selected by visiting the prisons to be fed to the beasts. His favorite tortures are burning with cauldron, burning at the stake, feeding them alive to predators, and sawing them in half with a saw. And the relatives of the victim had to be present during the execution, and God forbid they should close their eyes and not watch what was happening. And the executioner had to torture slowly so that the victim would die long and painfully. Caligula's spitefulness is evidenced by such a case. One day he came to one of his provinces and ordered the people to gather on the quay. When the people arrived, they began to be pushed from a high cliff into the water, while Caligula stood on board his ship and enjoyed the horror of the drowning. If anyone tried to climb out of the water to board his ship, the unfortunate man was pushed into the water. So many people died that day. Caligula also disliked young people who were much prettier than he was, which was often the case because Gaius Caesar was not a possessor of exceptional physical attributes. As the saying goes, don't be born handsome. Caligula ordered such guys to be either disfigured or killed. Gaius Caesar was very fond of married ladies. Most likely, he took perverse pleasure in humiliating their husbands. For example, Caligula could order all the ladies to undress and stand in front of him during a feast. He would choose a lady from among them, go off with her, have sex with her, and then, sitting at the table, tell everyone present, and her husband, among others, all the details. One day Caligula liked Livia, who was marrying Consul Gaius Pisan. Caligula came to congratulate the newlyweds, saw the bride, and decided to take her for himself. He indulged in debauchery with her for several days, and when he had had enough of the maiden, he returned her to her husband. He took Livia and everything was fine for a couple of years, when suddenly something went through Caligula's head and he considered the behavior of his former mistress unworthy and sent her into exile. Another time Caligula heard rumors about the marvelous beauty of Lalia Peacock, the wife of one of his commanders. The emperor, seeing the beauty, issued an order that their marriage was considered dissolved and married Lalia himself. Soon the lady bore him and was released, though she was forbidden to be intimate with anyone. Among the mistresses of Caligula was one who could boast neither beauty nor youth, but was just as promiscuous and loving sexual perversion. We are talking about Caesonia, who by that time had 3 children. He was so proud of his mistress that he allowed her to ride beside him in front of his troops, and in front of his friends often asked her to strip naked and show herself, which she gladly did. Caesonia bore a girl to Caligula, after which he married her and acknowledged the child. The little girl was named Julia Drusilla, and she was an exact copy of her father both in appearance and in character. None of the children could play with her because Julia would beat and scratch everyone with unchildlike cruelty. Caligula also had numerous homosexual liaisons, and he did not care at all about his partner's consent. He simply raped the men he liked, understanding that they could not resist the emperor. And all this despite the fact that sodomy was forbidden and punishable by death in Rome. But even in those days, apparently, the laws were not written for everyone. All of Caligula's antics were tolerated humbly for fear of being executed. And yet there were two living creatures that Caligula loved very much. The first was his horse, Incitatus. This is not a question of bestiality, just that the emperor, in my opinion, humanized the animal. The emperor ordered him to build him a marble stable with a manger made of elephant ivory and gold troughs, and the horse himself to be covered with his blankets embroidered with gold threads and adorned with precious stones. Then a palace with many servants was built for the horse, where feasts were held. Guests were invited on behalf of the horse, of course. Incitatus himself first became a Roman, then a senator, and then an application was made to approve the horse as consul. Perhaps he would have become one had Caligula not been assassinated. While he was still alive, Caligula suffered from megalomania, declaring himself a god, and the horse was appointed his chief priest. All priests had to pay taxes to the treasury, but the horse had no money, so Caligula imposed a tax on all horses. Whoever did not pay went to the abattoir. As a result, Incitatus was declared by Caligula to be God incarnate, and everyone had to worship him. Moreover, the text of the Oath of State was even reworked, with the phrase, "for the welfare of Incitatus," added to it. Caligula's second love is his own sister Drusilla, whom he took his virginity from when they were both teenagers. His grandmother, with whom they were living at the time, caught them in the act. She promptly gave Drusilla in marriage to the senator Lucius Cassius Longinus, but after that Caligula's connection with his sister was not interrupted. And when he became emperor, he brought Drusilla to his palace and lived with her openly, without regard for her husband or people's opinion. The sister was all right with this, for she was as dissolute as Caligula. And with this great love, when he needed to enlist the support of the Praetorians, his personal bodyguards, he gave Drusilla to them. They raped the woman for many days, and soon she died, not surviving Caligula's betrayal. The emperor, who did not consider himself guilty at all, sincerely grieved for her and established a long mourning period in the country, during which it was forbidden to laugh, have fun, bathe, and dine with the family. By the way, the other sisters, with whom Gaius Caesar also cohabitated, were not as popular with him as Drusilla. Moreover, he ended up exiling them, accusing them of debauchery. No wonder Caligula had so many enemies who wanted him dead. Attempts to kill him were made more than once, and one of them was successful. His wife Caesonia was killed along with the emperor, and his daughter Julia Drusilla was killed by hitting her head against a wall. That's how Caligula was the cruel, bloodthirsty, and promiscuous monster. Of course, in the history of human society there have been many other terrible people, but few of them could compare to Gaius Caesar. What would you like to see next on our channel? Tell us in the comments.